Now we want to take you back to a vision of the future. In 1988, the Los Angeles Times featured an article titled LA 2013, A Day in the Life, predicting the changes that 25 years would bring for families living at that time. The article was written by Nicole Yorkin, who is now a writer and executive producer of the AMC series, The Killing, and she joins us now. It is remarkable. It's great to have you with us, first of all, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
It's remarkable. When you look back at this article 25 years ago, how much of your predictions actually did come true? Does that surprise you?
It totally surprised me. I'd basically forgotten about the article, and then somebody called me up and said, "Do you remember you wrote something 25 years ago?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." And then it turned out that some of those predictions were pretty accurate.
Your editors at the time, though, said you were too optimistic, right?
Yes, they did. They thought that it was a sort of a rosy, cheery view of the future. So they asked me to write a separate sidebar piece about sort of the grim, dark potential future that LA could be.
Some of the things that you did get right 25 years ago. First of all, you said computer pen pals through electronic mail, email. Yeah. Music and movies are streamed to the home. Kids carry personal portable computers. Telecommuting and shared workspaces. Smart cars. Increased use of collagen injections. Of course, I said in the meeting yesterday, she was writing all of this in LA, so yeah, exactly. I don't know how different things were back then. Yeah. And then traffic in LA is still terrible.
It sure is. It's terrible. But all those predictions seemed so far-fetched at the time. I remember thinking, like, I'm very directionally challenged. And I thought if I could have a car that would tell me how to get somewhere, that would be a miracle.
But where did you do research to come up with those predictions?
Well, I started out talking to some futurists, and then I suddenly realized that in order to do it, and it's a narrative story about a family in the future, that I would need to know about every aspect of the future. So I needed to talk to people who could tell me about kitchens and school and traffic, and I ended up talking to 30 different experts in all different fields.
I am a little sad about one of the things that didn't come true. And you can never say never about the future, but robot maids to do household chores.
Well, we're not that far away from that, actually.
Yeah, you know? Well, we do have the, what is it called? The Roomba, that goes around the room. Thumbprint IDs used for banks and police, not that far off from that either. 3D holographs for conference calls, barcodes on money to track bills, electronic wall art with immense clarity.
That sounded good to me.
It sounded good at the time.
Yeah,
those are the things you want to believe.
Exactly.
Right.
But actually, you know, all of these things aren't that far away when you look at them.
No, and I thought it seemed so far-fetched at the time, but you know, we're actually very close to
were you thinking the Jetsons when you thought of robot maids?
A little bit, although I think I created a robot that was a little less perfect than the robot maid in the Jetsons. You know, my robot dropped things and got yelled at all the time for making mistakes. And
who did the artwork of your vision of the future?
Well, interestingly, my father had executive produced Blade Runner, the movie, and I remember thinking that that was an interesting vision of the future, sort of a dystopic vision of the future, and it turned out this man, Sid Mead, had done the future drawings and projections for that movie. So I ended up talking to him, and he was a lovely guy. He let us use his artwork.
Have you given any thought to 2038 now? Since you've been so right on 2013?
Well, I don't think the traffic's going to be any better, at least in Los Angeles, unless the fuel cost is so high that no one can afford to drive. And I think maybe 3D printing could change the face of manufacturing. We might be able to print a car out instead of manufacturing
Print a flying car, I hope.
I'm going to print myself out to go to work, and I'll just stay home and hang out all day.
That sounds good, too.
I like that idea.
Nicole Yorkin, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes in 2038.
Thank you. You too.